Guys, when do you think contraception became legal in Ireland?
Where question to start the podcast with. I should know this because I'm from Ireland. I'm going to have a guess though. I definitely think it was the 70s, so I'm going to say 1972.
Edward?
1968.
Why'd you say
Both.
that, Ed?
Just the first number that came to mind.
Both incorrect. Both incorrect. It's 1985.
Wow.
1985, which is quite late when you think
All right,
about
I didn't
it, right?
think it was that recent.
Right. I mean, I think it was around before then, but you couldn't get it. It wasn't, the general public couldn't get it. Now, in UK, it was late 60s. So that's a big difference between when it was legal in Ireland. Now, the reason I bring up that absolutely fucking weird question is because my twin brother Hyder was telling me a story about a fella he worked with, and the guy was saying, when condoms first came out in Ireland, I used to hate them because they were so painful. Like, they were just so painful. Hyder was thinking to himself, like, is he trying to brag that he's got a big cock or what? And your man goes, because we didn't get training on it. He didn't even know how to use them. So he would put the condom over his cock and balls when he was having sex. And he said he's a legend. And he said his balls used to get fucking crushed the whole time. And he was like, this is terrible.
He'd be coming out after getting the rave with just swollen testicles. Jesus.
Oh, I know, yeah. I thought that was hilarious. But then
Do you know what, though?
you know.
But people listening who aren't from Ireland mightn't understand why that was, and that was just the Catholic Church's influence. They were like, no sex before marriage.
I know. I mean, there you go. I mean, I was born in
fingering
86,
before dinner.
a year later, so my parents obviously didn't get the memo about the fucking condoms. But anyway, what's the crack, lads?
Not much new, but I was just I was going to bring up the show at the weekend, the UFC card, because since we talked about the main event in the last podcast with Cyril Gane and Francis Ngannou.
Right. Okay. So, what are your thoughts on it? Because I haven't heard your thoughts. I watched it on the plane from Texas back to Florida.
Well, obviously, I gave a prediction, or I gave like my thoughts on it, being that Cyril Gane could potentially be the kryptonite for Francis Ngannou, since he's such a dynamic, well put together striker and controls distance and stuff. And that's the way the fight started. But obviously, Francis went somewhere that no one thought he would go, which is to grapple into wrestling, and had put on a great performance. I think it was backed up in terms of the size of the event because of the fact that Francis had such public disputes with UFC about his contracts and stuff leading up to it. And now he's the heavyweight champion of the world, and he's potentially leaving the organisation.
Well, yeah. I mean, first off, on the actual fight, I was similar to you. I thought if it was going to go decision, Cyril would win. But I loved the fight. I thought it was so exciting. I love Francis wrestling. I thought he carried himself amazingly well after the fight, considering all the controversy, like the potential suing and Dana White not putting the belt around him and everything else. Yeah.
Have you heard Dana White's excuse for that?
Yeah. I knew something like that would become... I don't believe it.
He said that he had left the floor just after the co-main because he had to take care of... He didn't give any details, he had to take care of something at the back, which is like...
Yeah.
It seems to me like a bit of a lame. I don't think he's ever missed... Has he ever missed the previous champions?
Yeah, I think he missed Bisping and Rockhold, but he did finally get back into the cage to give the belt around him still. It's just, listen, it's very convenient that there's a big dispute between him and Francis's manager, and then the fact he doesn't put the belt on him. You know,
well, look, whatever organisation Francis decides to go to, or if he decides to jump over to boxing to have that big money fight with Fury, it's going to be a big loss to the UFC because, you know, Francis is comic book stuff.
Right. I mean, it was already an extremely exciting fighter, but now I think with the added wrinkle in the game that he can rely on takedowns or, you know, not necessarily amazing jiu-jitsu, but very, very, you know, he's able to mix it up, and he's got a lot more fight IQ now than just knocking you out. It's an exciting fighter, man. I'd be really excited to watch his next fight.
It's so exciting, man. But the UFC are very lucky because at the moment they have so many exciting fighters coming through.
Fucking right.
I mean, if you think of like Sean O'Malley.
Oh, I love Sean O'Malley. I know, yeah. So exciting.
He's actually the perfect star, man. When you think of the attributes that he possesses, he's charismatic, he's skillful, he's dedicated. I mean, he's crossing cultural lines as well because he's hanging out with people like the Nelk Boys, 6ix9ine, and these influencers have massive followings.
Yeah, huge. And it's a great point, because I think that's what's the difference between like a great athlete and someone that turns into this cultural icon. It's almost what they're doing, who they're associating with outside of the sport. Sean, to me, feels like he is a sign of the times right now. And if you look at other athletes in different sports, like in basketball, Dennis Rodman or Tyson or McGregor, they were bigger than the sport that they were in. He feels like that now.
Yeah, he does, man. And actually, when you watch O'Malley fight and you see him walk into the cage, it gives you the same feeling in the pit of your belly as like when McGregor used to be walking to the cage in his early career. You just know you're about to witness something special. And he's also so dynamic with his striking. He's power in every shot. I think the UFC have hit the jackpot with this fella, man.
Mate, the fucking jackpot. But you were meant to bring him over to Ireland, right, to do this big tour. Do you know that, Ed? He was meant to bring him over to Ireland and show him his Irish heritage and all this shit. Mate, that would have been so fucking fun.
I was gutted when it didn't happen, man, but I planned an amazing trip with his manager, going around the most beautiful places in Ireland, and I'd done some incredible research on his Irish heritage. I was going to share it with him. I think he would have been so interested in it, and I think the Irish fans would have loved him, man. But it was just with COVID, couldn't get it going. I was trying to get into the government, but they were just so strict with the restrictions, man. I couldn't.
That's a pain in the bollocks, man. Because I think the Irish fans would have got behind him so much. You know how crazy they are when they get behind him. That's a balls. You know what? We should just fucking go to Phoenix, lads. I'm in Florida. We should just go to Phoenix. Get some training in. I mean, I'm being serious. Get some training in. Fucking smoke a big joint. Bring all that Irish heritage to him. Do a podcast.
Nabz, I love your attitude, by it's always the most positive. Like, do you know what? Imagine the crack that we would have in Phoenix.
Oh my
Imagine
God.
it, lads. I'm well up for that.
Boys.
I'm well up for that.
I'm well up for that, boys.
Boys, I'm fucking well up for it. Yeah, let's make it happen.
Boys, honestly, after this podcast, I'll get on to his manager that I was talking
Have a word with him.
and try to see if we can. Oh, that would be unbelievable.
Yeah, let's do it. That'd be fucking sick, lads. That'd be sick. All right, you organise that.
I'll get on to him.
Anything else happening in the world? Actually, do you know what? I want to, because I'm looking at my fucking phone here. The crypto markets and the stock markets and everything are in bits at the moment. There's a lot of reasons behind that. But did you see the report that Russia are trying to ban cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I've heard, yeah. But yeah, I think that was the first time that they've said they were going to do it, but obviously it's not.
Yeah, well, because if you look at like China, I think threatened to ban it like about 15 times before they ended up banning it. But I think it's interesting with these two countries. You have to try unpack. Now, I did see another tweet this morning that Putin was for Bitcoin. So the fuck knows, but the markets are going crazy. But I think you have to look at why Russia and China would potentially look to ban cryptocurrency. You have to unpack that. I mean, first things first, they're both creating their own CBDC, which stands for central bank digital currency. Do you know what they are? Shane, you do.
Yeah, but most countries are doing that.
Yeah, they are, but most countries are not China and fucking Russia. Do you know what I mean? And that most countries are not trying to ban this. So I think, for people who don't know what a central bank digital currency is, essentially they're just trying to create a digital wallet for your currency. So like China are trying to make the digital yuan, which is a scary thought because it's kind of the opposite of what crypto and blockchain is. I mean, essentially you'll have all of your money being paid and everything, probably your taxes taken out automatically from your wallet, and they can track everything that you do. So when a country like China and Russia are trying to build that and they're trying to ban cryptocurrency, there's a scary thought there. And I mean, both Russia and China have an enormous amount of red tape, corruption and control over their people. So it's an interesting.
Well, for sure, control is more than likely the reason behind it. But I remember when China did it, they had, of course, the public or the media were saying that they wanted to have a better control of monetary policy, which is the money going in and coming out of the economy. They also said they were trying to prevent money laundering. And the third reason they gave was like, because China have big problems with grid shutdown, so like electrical grids going shut because they have such a big strain on the electrical system, and they're saying that there was so much mining going on in China that it was putting unnecessary strain on the system. But like,
yeah, I believe that. I believe all of that. Yeah. Would you get the fuck out of me fucking face? Listen, the reason why they're doing it is because they can't control it. It's literally like trying to control the internet. You know what I mean? They can't. That's why it poses a threat, because cryptocurrency is meant to be a seamless, permissionless ecosystem that has a lot of transparency between people. So it's the exact opposite of what governments want, but it's brilliant for people, and it's brilliant for countries that lack infrastructure, especially within Africa or something where they don't have good infrastructure within finance. They can almost bypass this now with cryptocurrency if we get proper regulation involved and everything else. But I think, and this
one thing I'll say, sorry, go on. I was going to just make a point there about.
No, make the point.
I was thinking about it. Like China and Russia are both countries that are open about the fact that they are trying to be totalitarian. They don't really hide it that well. Like, you know, China are now putting in the social credit system. Russia is Russia. They're both kind of communist, capitalist mixes. But anyone that thinks even Western governments want cryptocurrency to take off and want this decentralized financial system, like they're kidding themselves. Like, I think America and the UK and Europe will probably be a little bit more snide in how they do it. But every government will want the control over this. They won't want it to run rampant.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things there. So one is, how can you make money off of it? So they're going to have to start taxing it and create regulations, right? But I also feel as well that the other countries, like, say, like in the Western world or America, I do think that they have more of an understanding that it's very hard to control or ban this. Like, you know, I remember famously Obama put in an act, I don't know if you remember this, Shane, where he tried to censor the internet. Do you remember that?
I don't know.
He tried to pass a bill that would censor the internet. And it failed miserably, of course. Like, how can you do that? It doesn't work. I just have the sense that any of the governments that are not are taking into consideration blockchain technology or cryptocurrency are going to fall behind. I don't think you can ban it. I think they can try, but there'll be ways around it. So yeah, and adoption's becoming more mainstream than ever now with NFTs and everything else. Every company is using that. Netflix just announced that they're going to create NFTs for utilities for their customers. So just an interesting thing that I thought, yeah.
It's a very interesting time with cryptocurrency and financial systems in general. I think there's post-pandemic as well. You know, there was a lot of stimulus packages handed out by the Western economies, and it's going to be interesting for the next few months to see how it unfolds. And with Russia now trying to push it out, it could just, as you said, with innovation, it could move a lot of that over to the States and to Europe. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It will be interesting to see how fucking low my portfolio goes, boys.
I don't want to talk about that now either, but
I know, yeah.
Let's keep ourselves happy.
I got a random story for you. Story time. Are you up for it?
I love story time.
So, when I was living in Mexico last year, I used to buy these peanuts. Okay, chili and lime peanuts. They were fucking delicious. But I used to eat so much of them that I was starting to get fat tatas. So I was like, well, I better relax on them for a while. So I stopped buying them. About a week later, on my Instagram, I had an ad for these peanuts. Now, these peanuts are very niche. You can only get them in Mexico, and you can only get them in certain places in Mexico. So I just thought it was so weird why my Instagram was showing an ad, because I never talked about it, texted, or anything else. And then I spoke to someone else after, and they said, oh, well, probably the store that you bought it in, or your Visa, like your credit card company, were selling that information to marketing companies in order to target you. And like, maybe I'm just being naive, but I remember thinking, that's fucking crazy. There's no way they're doing that. Anyway, fast forward. I was on a flight there last week, and I was reading an article from a guy who works at the Washington Post. And I have the article, and I want to read it to you. What do you think?
Well, I'd like to hear it. I also would like to know how many packets a day you're eating of those peanuts.
I was eating 2 large packets, but they were really, really big ones. One in the
This is coming from the same fella that ate a 52 party pack of snacks or something, didn't he?
48 packs of Walker
Salt and vinegar
crisps.
crisps. I remember.
I mean, Nabz, 2 is definitely a lie. I'm going to say you were eating 6 packets a day.
I was eating a lot. But, so, all right, I'm going to get into it. So, he's a columnist. So, how it started off with, this guy realized that the Alexa smart thing, now I don't have that, but the what do you call it? The smart fucking, everyone knows Alexa anyway.
Yeah.
Was recording all of the conversations and everything that was going on in his house. And he found out that Amazon actually had 4 years worth of recordings. And this was stuff like conversations about medical stuff, prescriptions, personal conversations, business meetings, all of the above. Now, it turns out that Amazon don't actually sell that information. They say that they collect it in order to optimize your kind of viewings on Amazon, everything else. Still very fucking weird. Anyway, this guy went on then to write an article about it and deep dive into tracking your information and tracking your data and what happens here. And I thought this was fucking wild. So I'm going to read it on my phone because it was too much for me to remember. So, okay, so he found out then corporations were paying millions and millions of dollars. All these different data brokers were paying all of this money to get information, right? And that could include like flight records, doctors, everything you think of, tax records. And so, okay, some of it works was, do you know when you get an extension on your browsing a website and then an add-on pops up on your screen? And it's something that we never fucking read and we just click
Allow
okay.
cookies. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So what happens is every time that you click allow on that, you're allowing this extension to read everything that's on that website that you're looking at. It allows it to read every other website that you view, and it also can read the top bar where you put in the whatever
Pornhub.
website you're looking at, Pornhub.
Yeah.
Well, when you log into something with your password on Pornhub, it will show sometimes the password in that bar. That's another thing that they can see. So not only can they see everything you're looking at, but they can actually see your password. So that's fucking scary. Also, another thing that he noted, I didn't know this, and I'm guilty of doing it too. You know, when you go onto a website and it'll say log in with Facebook or log in with Google, like that's really common. When you allow that to happen, it allows Google and Facebook then to track everything that you're looking at. And Shane, you just said cookies a second ago. Google are the biggest maker of cookies in the world. Right?
Now, on that point, right? Anytime that a massive corporation is trying to get you to agree to something that is sneaky and secretive as allowing them to track your data, and they call it cookies, those fucking cunts. I mean, that's such a nice, you know, when you see allow cookies, you're like, I fucking love cookies. I'll allow them, no bother. And you don't know what, like, a lot of people don't even think about the consequences of taking those fucking cookies from the cookie jar. Those bastards.
That's another thing that's really weird, that they would name it something like cookie. Like, it's not like they named it Tracker 4.0.
It's all psychology, though. It's all psychology. Like 100%. That is something, some genius came up with that back in the day after doing loads of fucking scientific research on the word that people would be most seductive to just go and allow.
Right. He went on also to say, I've got it written down here, what did he say? That he could find certain websites where you could pay $40, as little as $40, and to access personal information from a specific person. So if someone had a vendetta or something like that against someone, you could access this information. So also a couple of interesting points that he went on was apps. So when you have an app on your phone, these apps, other companies, Google, would pay and there you got that, Ed, did you? Would put trackers into these apps. And this guy found that within 1 week, there was 5,400 trackers on his apps.
Fucking hell.
And that was tracking every fucking thing that he did. And it was happening while he was sleeping. If your phone is on, it was constantly sending information back and forth like every 15 minutes. Absolutely crazy. And this is the one that I thought was so weird. You know, like a normal app you would have in your house, like for a thermostat. He had a thermostat where you could control it from his phone, or the garageway, the open the garage was all on an app. Anytime someone walked past the thermostat, it would take a record of someone walking past it and send that information off every 15 minutes. And the same thing with the garage door. Every time someone would come in, it would send that information. So from all of the apps he had, the Alexa thing and everything else, somebody would know for the last 4 years, every single time a human being is in that house, what time of the day they're in that house. They would know how many people are in the house. They would know everything about their records, their taxes, their flight information. I mean, if that got into the wrong hands, holy fucking Jesus Christ, man.
But the thing is, it's potentially already going into the wrong hands. Like, it's very hard. Like, everyone has heard echoes of this in recent years. Like, everyone's aware of the fact your phone potentially listens to your keywords and shows you adverts in relation to what you're saying. Like, everyone's have had that experience where they're like talking about Spain. And next thing they get offers, and next thing they get offers for like flights to Spain or something, and they're like, how the fuck did that happen? So everyone's aware of it to a degree, but when you look at the stuff you're saying there and how fucking really invasive that is, people don't want to know in a way, because we are obsessed as a society with consuming. We just want to keep going onto Instagram, keep buying stuff on Amazon, and these companies, like, the world has gone to a place now where your behaviors, your tastes, your dislikes, your likes, your views on the world are all worth money. And it's like your mind is being cut up into planks and being sold off to the highest bidder. I mean, it's a really, really scary thought that all of this information in the future can be used to curate a fucking world. Like, it could be used by these corporations to curate the way people think, curate the stuff that they buy. It's a weird one, man.
You made a good point there, and this is so okay. Let's say you buy Lululemon fucking tops on Amazon and also like supplements, and so companies are starting to think, okay, this person is looking to get into shape, so they might target you with like health clubs, gyms, personal trainers, whatever, so all this kind of stuff. You can say that's relatively harmless. Now, me personally, I would still rather know I'd rather at least know that that's happening. But where it gets weird, and also other stuff that I read in the article was, let's say you bought a motorcycle, right? Or you like to do a lot of, let's say risky kind of things, like, I don't know, like fucking dirt bike riding, something that's whatever. They'll use that information. They'll use that information to sell to insurance companies, and insurance companies then will hike up your interest rates because they see that you bought a motorcycle or you take part in these kind of activities. That's where it gets really weird. And also, I read that if, let's say, you buy a lot of like fancy goods or luxury products, they'll also send that information to the banks because you're more susceptible to buy stuff, that the banks will start giving you better rates on loans, and it just gets really creepy, man. And I was just trying to think in my head,
the whole game is set up so that these corporations, the ones that are the massive industries like tech, pharma, oil, food, like consumerism in general, like shopping, they want to extract as much money as they can from us and keep the party going, because the economy needs to have that constant flow. So governments aren't protecting us, you could say, if that's the word. Like, they're not taking care of us with these companies put all this small writing in 55 pages, and if you say accept cookies, you're agreeing to so much stuff that you don't even necessarily know, or you're not aware of, you don't have time to look at, because again, we just want to keep going through the next post, the next thing to buy. And it's not going to stop anytime soon, I feel, because people aren't caring, man. The party is like, we're all guilty of using these platforms, buying these things off these websites, and we don't ever, protest it. The only way to protest it is to stop using it. If everyone stopped and said, we need to get this under control, we need to have you stop taking every bit of movement and behavior that we do and putting it into a package to sell off to people.
Yeah, I don't really know what the answer is in terms of fixing. There's probably going to have to be some sort of regulation, maybe new innovation in tech. I don't know. But it's a $200 billion industry, and like, why are you not getting some of those dollars? Like, I mean, if someone could say, look, I'm happy to sell my information, I'm happy to be targeted, you know what I mean? It's fucking crazy that it happens. You've no idea that it happens. It's so invasive. It's weird. You're not making any money, and there's industries that are making billions off of it. Just a weird thing. I never knew to that extent. I thought my head hurt after reading it.
Facebook's whole kind of business model is built on data, like collecting data, selling data, advertising to people, and all these platforms are free. And I heard a saying that makes so much sense: if you're not paying for the product or service, then you are the product.
Yeah, I heard that.
Like, you are the thing that they're trying to sell.
Was that in that movie, The Social Dilemma?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I actually heard it on a podcast with that fella. That's where I last heard it. Anyway, he was doing a podcast with Russell Brand. Very good podcast, actually, where it goes into detail about, well, social media particularly, and their kind of shady behaviour in that regard with collecting data and curating, targeting young people with echo chambers of what they like. And you see it nowadays with TikTok, and constantly everything is growing into this world where, like, the attention span of people is getting shorter. People constantly want to have new stimulus, whether that's new content for 15 seconds that they can keep swiping through, or again, new clothes, new updates of phones, fucking whatever it is, it's just more constantly going boom, boom.
there's somebody knocking on my door. Just to give a bit of background here, we tried to do a podcast during the week. I'm staying in a little sleepy town in the middle of Florida now. It's nice to chill, but it's not great for internet. So the podcast didn't get uploaded. So I had to go and find a business center an hour away, drive down this morning, set up in this fucking office. And now there's some cunt knocking on the fucking door. We'll see what happens.
I have the violin out for you here, bud.
Huh?
Invite him in, it might be a good guest.
Yeah, I was about to say, get him in there.
But that whole topic about collecting your data and stuff, again, it's something we can talk about. Maybe I'd like to talk about that again, man, and do more and more research on it, because it's a scary thing. And it's like, an elephant in the room, and most people don't really want to know about it, because once you know about it, you're a bit like, fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Every time you talk to Alexa, like, you fucking bitch.
I only read one article. This was one article with all of that information. So can you imagine when you look under the hood with this? It's I don't know. It's creepy, but yeah, I never knew any of that, to be honest. It's a fucking weird thing. But
I did see as well recently an article about the GPs in the UK and your information being again sold off to companies, that goes, in my view, above and beyond any sort of invasion on privacy, because you think that's the one most confidential relationship you'll ever have in society with a stranger is with your doctor. Like, you're going to your doctor telling them whatever the issue is, and you're expecting that information to be kept between you and that person. And now potentially that information could be used to get you to become, a paying customer of whatever it is, which is fucked.
You know what would be even weirder, with the whole metaverse thing coming into play?
But imagine now, Nabz, one thing to finish, right? Imagine now you're just there chilling at home, and next thing on your phone you get a fucking advert for a rash cream on your ass, that rash you had. And you didn't want anyone to know about that. So imagine if the doctor,
I didn't want anyone to know about it. Yeah, but you know what? Honestly, I probably would have been happy with that, so I could have got it and then used it. But,
true.
Yeah, because the cream that you gave me that you used on your cock didn't work. So I have to move on. How are you, Ed?
I'm actually in a really good mood today. I'll be honest.
You gonna?
That's unusual.
Be honest,
cunt.
And tell us why you're in a good mood.
I don't know. I feel like the energy today is good on the podcast. I'm having a good time.
Okay, yeah. I mean, look, I have to apologize. The energy on the last one wasn't great because of the fact my internet kept cutting out.
Because you kept fucking off, yeah. But there we go.
I know. So I apologize for that. So do you have us ask credits this week?
I've got 3 belters.
Nabz, don't ask him. Don't ask him if he has asked.
I'm going to keep asking every week. Does he have them? Because one week I wanted to say, nah, fuck off.
Ed, you know what you should do? You should ask Nabz before he asks you. Go, Nabz, you want to ask credits for us and see what he says.
What's the best brand of ice cream? I've got 3.
Go for it.
What sound makes you nervous or gives you anxiety?
What sound? What sound?
I don't have a sound, but I have a smell.
Which is?
Thai oil.
For fighting?
You know what Thai oil is? Yeah, like, it smells very similar to like Tiger Balm, but it's a lot stronger, more potent smell, and it's a
what
rub
feelings does that evoke?
Anxiety, like, fuck, he says that. Like, was that the question? What sounds make you anxious?
Yeah.
So that smell, like, when you smell it, obviously, every time you go to a show to compete, everyone in the change room is applying loads of this stuff, and the place would stink of it. And when you walk into the change rooms in the arena, your butterflies in your stomach, you're getting ready to perform. You have to start calming yourself down. So if I go to a gym, even if I'm not even training, if I'm just coaching, and if I smell the Thai oil, I'll start getting butterflies in my stomach. Start like heavy breathing. I have to think to myself, what the fuck is going on here, man? Like,
next time I'm staying over with you in your house, I'm going to get it and put it up to your nose while you're sleeping.
So many people now are going to start wearing Thai oil around me. I'd be fucking anxious all the time.
I don't know if I have a smell. You know what? I have a bit of a weird one for smell. So I'd say rotten meat, and I'll tell you why. When I was in London a few years ago, it was like a heat wave. You know how London changed? You know, London can get real hot in the summer. It's fucking crazy.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah, and I was making a lot of bone broths at the time, and I made a bone broth and I drained it, and then I put the bones in the bin, and I didn't really think much of it. And a couple of days had passed, and I was about to go to work. I was teaching a class at the time, and I was running out the door, and I thought, you know what, I better change that bin because my twin brother always says you fucking always leave it for him. Now I packed the bin down like a true man to where it's so packed in you can barely get it out of the bin because I don't want to bring it down to the outside because it was 3 stories up. Anyway, Edward, to get to the Ask Reddit fucking question, I was like, I could smell a little bit like rotten meat, and I thought, right. So I was getting this bin, and I was lifting it out, and it was stuck in, and I was lifting, and I finally got it up, and it burst up, and about 1,000 maggots went all over my face, into my hair.
God.
Hold on. I was right beside the sink, and there was dishes in the sink, all in between the dishes. Maggots went everywhere. Thousands of these white little fucking maggots, right? Ed, true story. I considered blowing up the kitchen. I thought, well, how can I get out of this? I have to set it on fire because how can I clean this? I'm already late for work. I have maggots in my fucking ears. And, mate, I was sweating.
Was there juice from the meat as well? And stuff?
Shane, everything. Because it was so hot. It was a dumb thing. Oh my God, talk about anxiety. I was going into work fucking sweating. Like I was late. It was the worst.
Stinking of maggots and meat.
Rotten meat.
Mate. That's a good one. And I fucking, that was a good one. But again, you don't.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is, unless you're a lazy cunt with the fucking bin, again, you won't smell it. So
Shane, come here. Pot black, mate. Pot black with you. Don't even start that shit.
Listen, I take the bins out daily, man.
Yeah, but you're not on 3 stories. 3 stories up.
I was 3 stories up in London, but
Ed, next Ask Reddit. How many was that? That was just the first one, was it?
That was the first.
That was the first one. We spent 8 minutes on it.
We do say every time that we should do this quick fire, and every time we end up going on a fucking.
Fucking. We love a waffle.
I love it. I'm all for it. New Zealand announced that no one born after 2007 will be able to purchase cigarettes or tobacco. How do you feel about this?
It's ridiculous.
Ooh.
Okay.
Well, it is though. Like prohibition never works for trying to like. So obviously, again, you think of why are they doing that? They're trying to prevent people or stop people from smoking, and that's not going to work at all. Like it's just going to push the production and the supply of cigarettes into the black market and into criminal hands.
Maybe
100%.
I mean, well, nothing's 100%, Shane.
Okay, so what's going to happen? So all of the people are going to say, do you know what? Let's not smoke cigarettes anymore.
Okay, but you need to look at cigarettes. So you're talking prohibition. I mean, you're mainly talking about alcohol, right? Because that was the big thing that was tried to be stopped before.
No, prohibition is like at the moment we have all drugs that are
right.
I prohibited. Like
I understand that, but I think the big like the one that you can take a lot of information from was the alcohol. It never stopped anything.
The bootleg
right?
days.
The bootleg days. That would have been fucking crack, boys, wouldn't it? The bootleg days. Anyway, so alcohol we know obviously is dangerous and it does cause a lot of issues, like and that can run deep. But I just feel with cigarettes we know for a fact it causes cancer. And there's like almost zero benefit from it. Okay, nicotine. I'm a proponent of nicotine. I take fucking nicotine tablets and shit all the time. I do enjoy it. It helps me focus. And there's research behind the fact that nicotine isn't necessarily dangerous. It's just an addictive substance. It depends how the delivery method is. So, okay, I get banning cigarettes, but it's not banning nicotine. That's the kind of difference a little bit for me where I think.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. They're not banning nicotine. But
I'm on the fence. Like I don't really know. I would have said right off the bat, yeah, I think it's a good thing. But you do make a good point.
I do feel that prohibition and like if you look at the drug laws that we have and the war on drugs that's been going on in the West for so long, like what does it do? And one thing that it always does is that it puts people that are, in my view, more patients than criminals. You know, addicts and people who use a substance. It puts them into the criminal system. And it causes a lot of strain on the taxpayers' money because if you have people getting arrested for cannabis possession, cocaine possession, or heroin possession, whatever it may be, even if it's a very small amount, and even if that person is homeless and has mental health issues and is in a bad place, they have to go before the courts. So the police officers that arrest them have to spend time putting that through the system. The judges and the solicitors and the courthouse have to spend time processing that person through the system. If they go to prison, the taxpayers' money has to be spent on housing and feeding this person. And that's not to mention the fact that prison doesn't offer any rehabilitation to someone who needs it. So it's a weird one because it doesn't, in my view, stop people from using stuff. It just criminalizes people for using it. And I give you a good example of this, right? So I know people who would have, let's say, been caught with small amounts of cannabis a few times.
Are you talking about
And
yourself?
No, actually, I've never been arrested
going.
or anything for cannabis. But
Oh yeah, you
people
were
have,
a
like-
sneaky drug dealer. Keep going.
but listen, but you're a cunt. In Ireland, particularly because it's a small place, the police here have a very fucking, all drugs are drugs. So like cannabis is the same as cocaine.
He used to take
Yeah,
all
look
of his
at it.
cannabis, Ed, and put Thai oil over it so nobody could smell it. He
People
was a
get
smart
anxious.
one.
Let me finish my point, you prick.
Go ahead.
But if you get arrested for cannabis possession, let's say it's a very small amount, you get 3 times you get arrested. I think then you get a conviction. So then you have a conviction on your record for getting caught in possession of cannabis. If you are drinking, right, you can be fucking pissed off your head. You can be walking around steaming. No one will ever stop you. And the only time you get done for being drunk is if you're violent or if you're like driving drunk and crashing or whatever it may be, drunk and disorderly. The amount of charges for cannabis in this country, the vast majority of them are for people with possession. Whereas if you look at the convictions for drunk and disorderly, like that means that like if you look at what those drugs do, for example, so cannabis, you're getting arrested for simply having it on you, not for doing anything. Like you could be fucking the most relaxed, happy person in the world. You could want to give the police a hug, but when you're drinking, the only time you get arrested is for acting out violently or acting out in a way that's seen as dangerous. And there's so many arrests for people being drunk and fucking, whatever, violent, messy. It's just such a weird system that prohibition or making something illegal causes nothing but trouble in my view. So New Zealand aren't doing the right thing. I think what they're doing is just going to put people in danger and put a lot of fucking unnecessary people in through the criminal system.
Yeah, I mean, you do make a good point. Are there any countries that that all drugs are legal, or is that no?
Decriminalised, not legal. Like Portugal, decriminalised. And I think that's a better system, because what that does is that if you have under a certain amount of dealing the drug or selling the drug is still illegal, so the drug is still prohibited. But if you're in possession of a small amount for personal use, instead of getting a conviction or criminalised for it, you have to be referred to like the health services. So
okay, so what about if they made it illegal to buy it, but it wasn't a criminal offence to have it? Do you think that might curb younger kids starting smoking?
Well, it depends on what they do with the money then. Like, you still have to put money and invest into education. Like, look at the education, I don't know about your education or yours, Ed, on drugs when you were going through school, but like all it was for me really was like that drugs are bad. I was
literally too busy smoking cigarettes around the back of the store.
You were too busy taking drugs. No, but like you get told as a kid like that it's all bad, and then when you start going through life and people start using drugs around you and you see people having a good time and not getting into, it's just when you lie to people and they see the world differently, it's when problems arise. So like educating people on the pros and cons of different substances, whether it be cigarettes, cannabis, cocaine. Right. Who knows? I don't have all the answers, but I don't even know if that would work, but it's definitely not working at the moment.
All right, before we do the last one, Shane, can you make sure you get that ounce for me when I'm back in Ireland, right? Give us that last...
the ounce of heroin, yeah?
Give us the last question.
You're getting better at the quickfire, by the way.
Fuck you. That was another 10 minutes.
What's something you look
We'll
forward
do this one. All right, we have to do this one quickfire.
Okay,
I already know your answer. I know yours, Shane. What's something you look forward to every single day?
Shane?
Isabel.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, fuck, every day. Apart from my 3 wanks. Do you know what I love? I have to say, I do love what I do work-wise, that I work for myself. It took me a long time to get here, but I love the fact that like I make my own schedule, my time, even fucking driving an hour with all my podcast gear and my little case to get down to here to do this. And then, I'm focusing on my business after. I really do enjoy it. I never get Sunday blues or Monday blues, whatever the fuck it's called. So I would say I look forward to doing the things that I love. But
that's a great answer, and I'm very happy for you. But a lot of people listening to this won't be happy for you.
Okay, but that's fine. But then they need to go through the fucking bullshit that I did for years to get here. So fuck you. How about that?
I said I'm happy for you, man. What are you saying fuck you to me for?
Not to you. I'm saying it to them. Stop getting defensive. All right,
it's very directed at me though.
All right, well listen, get back to drug dealing. Stop getting defensive, and that's it.
Listen, Nabz, I tell you now, when I see you next, right, in Sean O'Malley's fucking gym, I'm gonna tap you out in front of Sean O'Malley and his coach, and then I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna stand up with you, and I'm gonna knock you out in front of him as well.
Shane, you've never submitted me in your life. And it's not going to
That's
stop
bullshit.
now.
I did submit
Never.
you and you keep denying
Never.
it. I did. 100%
No, you
I
didn't.
did. I
No,
can
you
remember the time I submitted you as a...
No, you did. Shane, stop
What did
it.
you get him in,
Well,
Shane?
listen,
What did you get
well,
him
tell
in,
you what
Shane?
then. I tell you what. No, I tell you what. We can solve this. We can solve
Head
this.
and arm.
Head and arm, was
You
it?
didn't get me in and head. You've never submitted me. And never head and arm. Definitely not head and arm. I'll tell you this right now.
Is Conor
Let's
McGregor
film-
have to come to the podcast there or something?
Let's tell you what. Let's fucking. Did a leprechaun just jump on? Let's tell you what we'll do, right? Let's film ourselves doing a grappling session when we get to Phoenix and put it out there. We'll see who
100%
taps. We'll see who taps.
And
who
do you know
then.
what as well?
What?
I won't even make any excuses.
I'm telling you right now, you will not tap me out. Now, I will give
So
you.
you
this
can't
look.
make excuses. Listen, just don't make any excuses this time, all right?
Just not, Shane. I'm telling you now, you're going to look stupid because I'm going to tap the.
And we'll
fuck
do
out
a
of you.
stand-up spar then as well. We'll do
No,
a
there's no
spar
need to do that. We don't have time for that. We'll just do grappling. Anyway,
just a bit of wrestling.
boys, I tell you one thing. I love you so much. I wish we could just fucking jump on this every day, right? We're going to have to get to a point where we can do more podcasts because I fucking love
Yeah,
chatting.
but we have to start fucking
100%.
getting companies to give us money to do it more often.
Yeah, I'm listening. All in good time, boys. All in good time. All right.
Hopefully now Google and Facebook are listening to us and they're gonna give us some money.
Yeah, they will, yeah. Boys, I love yous.
I
Good
love
to
you
see you,
as well.
boys. Ed has to go and catch a train. We don't want to keep any longer, but
Yeah, I need to fuck off. So,
Okay.
great podcast though, lads.
All right,
Ed,
lads.
I love you and please do fuck off. Nabz, love you, bud. Can't wait to choke you out. Take care.
Head and arm, baby.
See you later. Bye.